welcome to a new episode of my podcast, Magic Brain Kicks. I invited Leilani Hopkins. She's original from Hawaii and computer science at SAP. And she also worked for a video game developer, studied in Illinois, USA. And she is, very successful and I would say a cosmopolitan. And of course, when I think of Hawaii, we all long for these pictures we have in our inner mind of Hawaii with these wonderful beaches, the flowers, the hula and the lai and aloha feeling and these cheerful people. And therefore, first I would like to ask you, how is it now in Hawaii? How is the situation there?
So first of all, aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha nui loa, yeah. In Hawaii first and foremost, I want to talk about, we have aloha spirit in Hawaii. So this is this feeling of togetherness, love, kindness, respect. And so, I would like to say that, from what I have heard from my family there, they've really rallied together and gotten behind the social distancing that because the state is on a lockdown right now. Everyone is required to stay home. And one good thing about the situation is that, obviously Hawaii, the state is made up of islands, so it's easier to keep everyone confined, no one in or out. And they did decide early on in the epidemic to stop all travel into Hawaii from Asia, from mainland United States as well. So due to these measures, right now they only have about a little bit over 200 people that have been confirmed to be sick with coronavirus. I mean, still not a good number because we don't want to have anyone with coronavirus. But if you look at what's going on in Hawaii compared to what's happening in New York, I think the measures have worked. But they're rallying together. Everyone is staying at home, and people are not panic buying. So it seems to be functioning quite well from what I hear.
Yes, but it must hard to be at home or to stay at home in your culture, because I only think for beach surfing and dancing and everything, but that must be hard. Perhaps a little bit hard for us here in Europe as it is more winter. The weather is not so fine. Yes,
it's definitely difficult. It's definitely difficult when you are from a place where it's warm most of the year, then you're spending a lot of time outside doing activities. But Hawaiian culture, Polynesian culture is very collectivistic. And so that means that we are a lot more focused on the group good compared to more individualistic cultures. And not a criticism of one is better than the other, but I think that situations like this that do require you to give up some personal freedoms in order for the group to prosper, then I think it actually has worked quite well. I don't think that people are questioning or upset as to why they have to not be at the beach or not be out, in groups. I think that they understand that it's a serious matter. And I think it's probably easier if you do come from such a culture, because you're like, okay, you know what? I have to maybe take a little bit of time and stay home, and I can only go out in my yard. I can't go down to the beach. I can't, go hang with my friends. I think it's easier if you come from such a culture. And I think it's definitely a lot harder for maybe Europeans and people that are growing up on the mainland United States, because it's very, very individualistic. So, but I think that, we all need to take it seriously, and, whatever we can do, social distancing, and really just kind of understand the next couple of months, we give up a little bit of going out and socializing, and then hopefully by the summer, this is over.
Yeah. We all hope this, yes, of course, yes. But next interesting for me is you are from Hawaii, hula dancer. I think as a little girl you started, and then you studied computer science. What was the decision to do that, or what was the motivation for that?
Well, my family owns a hula school. It's called a halau. It's a hula school. And I started studying training in hula, at around 3-ish, 4. And so, also teaching classes as well. And so I thought, okay, this is an option for me, but I knew that I didn't want to stay in Hawaii. I didn't want to necessarily teach hula for my whole life. It's nothing wrong with doing that when I go back, but I knew that I wanted to travel and see the world. So I decided that I wanted to study computer science. Actually, I discovered at really, really early on that I liked technology. And my school, we had computer class. And one of the things I learned at 7, 8 was to write a computer program. And it was just very interesting. And, you know, I liked video games and I thought it was fun. Mm-hmm. And, you know, of course, my dad wanted me to be a doctor, but I can't stand the sight of blood. So I chose something that, you know, I was good at and I thought it would be fun and interesting and that would give me enough career options to be able to live anywhere. So I chose the technology field. It was that or the medical field. And, you know, for me, it was kind of, I can't really stand the sight of blood and I'm not going to be a good doctor. So that's why.
Okay, I see. Yes. And then you studied in Illinois, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you leave Hawaii and went to Illinois to study the bachelor and the master of computer science. And why was it Illinois? What was the decision for that?
Well, you know, when you're a young person growing up in Hawaii, you are always worried about you want to get off of the rock. You know, your island, and you go and everyone thinks of California because California is a 5-hour flight. And that's like the biggest, furthest, you know, California seems like this new world. It's so modern and, you know, you want to go to LA or San Diego or San Francisco. And really anyone that was leaving my island, my town, that's where they were going, you know. And I was like, okay, I didn't want to do that because I wanted to get away from, to be honest, I wanted to get away from my parents. I wanted to get away from my family and have a little bit of freedom. And University of Illinois has a huge engineering school. It's actually one of the best engineering schools outside of MIT. And a lot of people don't know that, but it has one of the biggest engineering schools, center of supercomputing. Mm-hmm. And it was far away from Hawaii. So I decided, you know what, this is where I'm going to go because I wanted to get away from my family a bit. Excuse me.
Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah. And, yes, then you studied that. It was I don't know how many years. And then the next step was also in the US. No? The first company you worked was a video game developer, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I started off my career as a video game developer, a very, very small, tiny boutique video game development company. And we were doing some very violent first-person shooter games. And I started working there when I was a student. And after I graduated and decided to go back to my master's, I stayed with this company. And they were purchased by a larger video game development company. And it was very much fun. You know, it really didn't feel like work. Because, you know, it was only 12 people working there at the time. And one of the colleagues was a 17-year-old high school student. So, it was very much like fun. You know, I was the only woman working there. So, it was, you know, it didn't feel like work and it's something that I really, really enjoyed. And it's a really good, way for me to improve my coding and learning how to work in a team. And, you know, throughout the years working there, getting more and more responsibility and eventually like leading my team. And, you know, we went to this hiring process of hiring more people and learning how to be, you know, you're still a student yourself and learning how to be the senior person on the team. So I learned quite a lot there. It wasn't only just playing video games and things like that, but I learned a lot just about leadership and being a good team player. So it was really a really, really good start to my career, I have to say.
Oh, I see. Yes. And of course, the situation we have now with Corona sometimes seems like a science fiction. Some people tell me, oh, it's just a dream. When I wake up tomorrow, it's all over. Or it's like a play or something like very and therefore it's interesting. But of course, in this video game world, nobody has developed something like that. Like a virus is coming all over the world. It's really science fiction, isn't it?
Yeah. It seems like it.
Yeah. So totally. So we have no learnings or experience on the side. Yes. And what was the next step? You came to Europe at what time? Also for a job or?
I decided I wanted to have the experience of living abroad. And so I just started applying for jobs overseas. I thought that, I'm always someone that's interested in learning about different cultures and just learning in general. And I wasn't sure I would actually stay in Europe long term. I just thought I would go for a couple of years and, see what the experience is like. But I've actually discovered that, I prefer living in Europe, even though obviously the weather, you can't get everything everywhere. So, but I really appreciate the lifestyle, Europe, putting everyone together, the European lifestyle. But living abroad, being able to travel and, getting on a plane and within an hour or two, you can be in a different country and be exposed to a different culture. So for me, that was the main motivating factor is like, I thought, okay, I'm going to go live abroad for a few years and then I'll go back home. And so now I've decided that I want to live abroad long term, and I don't think I'm going to go back to Hawaii anytime soon. Mm-hmm. So.
Wow, that's a really new aspect. So, and you were here in Germany, in Berlin, or also in other European countries. I read it was Dumont and other companies, and now you are, of course, at SAP.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm based in Berlin, but I've worked in London with colleagues, also with SAP as well. Worked in Frankfurt. I've traveled all over Europe, but my main places of working, especially with SAP, have been London and Germany, of course. But I think that, right now with SAP as a company, not to kind of pub SAP, but there's so much opportunity, and it is a global company that I feel like I'm in a really, really great place in my career. And really, if I want to go live anywhere in the world, I have the opportunity to do that now. So it's been a really, really great experience.
Yes, I can imagine. Yes, of course. And you are in the department, or you are working as a development manager in HANA platform, in this cloud engineering. I know SAP is the main computer programmer software in all main companies in Germany, or in hospitals. My son studies medicine here at Charité. In Berlin, and he told me that SAP is the main program for all these advices. But what is this cloud engineering for, or how can have to pronounce the program correctly?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think most people know SAP. We provide the enterprise software for most big companies, large enterprises. So we do on-premise, which is the actual data center. You have the hardware actually on site in your company. So you have a database administrator. Cloud is, well, first of all, let me just back up. HANA is our in-memory database, and this is a department that I work in, but I work in the cloud side. So it's our in-memory database. It's our database in the cloud. And so the reason why I know that over the past few years, cloud has gotten more and more publicity. And we do encourage companies to move to the cloud. It's cost efficient for companies. It's cheaper for companies actually to use a cloud software system in comparison to an on-premise. But this is a personal choice for every company. Every enterprise has to decide what they want to do. But if they're interested in saving some money, then cloud is more cost efficient. Also with data storage, right now, data is the cash cow. Data is currency right now for any company, especially with GDPR. As you said, your son is working at a hospital. He's working at Charité. GDPR, patient privacy rules. Data is currency. And so every company has to be aware, if they're doing business in Germany, in the EU, they need to be aware of these data privacy rules. So, there's many data management applications where, you have a lot more control of your own data, of how your data is stored, how you access the data. So there's a lot more freedom and control that companies themselves have over their own data. So, also outages, like when you have your data center, it's a physical location. Your office is a physical location, and the hardware stored there. If it catches on fire, then what happens there? So this is another reason why cloud is encouraged for large enterprises, because your data is highly available. You can get access to your data as you need it. If there is ever disaster in a data center, there's a system, a fail-safe, where that data is migrated to another data center, so you do not lose this data in the cloud, as opposed to what you would if you only had it in a data center. So just a few reasons why we encourage the cloud. And cloud actually is the future. Not saying that businesses can't keep their software systems on site in a data center, of course. Like I said, it really just depends on what the company themselves decide. But I do think that as a person that works in the tech industry, cloud is the future. And I think it is a good way for companies to just take a little bit more control over their own IT department and their own data.
Oh, I see. Yes, I also think it's a future, and it's more safe than a physical device, of course. And but of course, many people have a little bit fear or are scary about the security of the data. When it is in the cloud, and it's easy to detect. Or what do you think about this? Because, of course, as you said, data are the currency for big companies, or for every company, also for every person, I would say. The personal data is important, and therefore, what makes it safe? Of course, we have to make the future safe in that way.
Definitely. When you think about things in terms of cybersecurity, I think that, a huge amount of investment is put into ensuring the safety of these software systems. And one of the main arguments that you will face when you're working with a company and you're trying to go through a digital transformation with them is it safe? Is the cloud safe? And I think that, it seems very esoteric for someone that they're used to an on-premise system. The DBA sits there. They have their hardware actually on location to then it be outsourced to a data center that SAP, for example, has, and their data is in the cloud. And so that is the main argument is my data safe and secure? So I do want to say, give assurance that we make a huge amount of investment, not just SAP, but just software companies in general that develop software as a service systems and these cloud systems. A huge amount of investment is put into ensuring the security of the system itself, whether that means network security, who gets access to even the network, people that have access to the data inside of a system. There are parts of the software system that I work on that I don't have access to because there's no need for me to have access to that. So we make huge amounts of investment to ensure the safety of these systems, not only for people that are working internally in the system. So if I don't need to have access to a certain landscape, then that is highly, highly managed by a security team. And your access is denied, whether you are a colleague or not, because you have no reason to have access to certain things. And then for ensuring, the connectivity is secure. So making sure that people cannot penetrate the system from outside the network. So huge amounts of investments are made, and not only to keep the network secure, but to test it to make sure that it's not vulnerable and to make sure that it's not easily hackable. And, obviously doing this periodic testing is continuous to make sure that your system is as strong as possible, and also innovating in security. Cybersecurity is, you can't have a software system without a strong cybersecurity. So I know that for our side, it kind of goes hand in hand. So any company that is skeptical about the cloud, if you're skeptical about it, I wouldn't be skeptical about it about the security side, maybe more so the functionality side, but the security side of it, I would argue that it's even more secure than a traditional on-premise system, just because you do have a physical location that someone could actually break into. So, but that's just, again, not saying that happens often. It doesn't happen, but I would argue to say that the cybersecurity is an added benefit and a reason why companies could and should move to the cloud.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes. Yes, very important. Because, of course, the future will be digital, and is there some learning, or what are the learnings up until now of the Corona crisis for SAP, for example, or for whole digitalization process? Are there already learnings what we perhaps to change or to create?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that this coronavirus is changing definitely dynamically the workplace, the workforce, having to adjust to 100% home office. I'm personally not. I don't love home office. I don't hate it. I do home office occasionally, but I'm someone that definitely would prefer to be in the office. And I would take advantage of doing home office when I feel that, okay, today is a good home office day. But when you have had to make these dynamic changes, and we're seeing now that the global workforce, not just for SAP, the entire globe is confined to doing home office. That means we need to utilize new technology. And this is a good argument for automation and digitalization. We all have to use these tools that have been out. Zoom has been out for 9-10 years and recently has seen an uptick in usage. So the argument for all this new technology, we're seeing that we actually need it because something like this pandemic has forced us to kind of, work on our toes and kind of think differently. One thing that, that companies themselves are probably seeing is the fact that maybe they need to invest more in enabling their workforce to be remote. And does it make sense to have all of these buildings in certain locations? Do you really need to have a building in every city, in every region, or can you just have one office location and then most of your workforce is remote working? And one thing I actually read recently was very, very interesting from a LinkedIn article is that they've seen an uptick in employee productivity across industries. Is the fact that, a lot of people, especially a lot of managers, will argue that they need to see their people every single day. They need to see that you're in the office to make sure you're doing your work. And I think that this is actually causing a lot of us in leadership is to understand that, first of all, you need to have some trust and faith in your workforce. Yes. And if you can't trust them to do their work, then you, as a leader, as a manager, you've kind of failed to hire the best people. So, this two-pronged approach is that you, as an employee, your productivity could gradually decrease over time if this goes on for months and months and months. We don't know because maybe you're demotivated and you're depressed. But I think that the opposite will actually happen. I think that people will actually start to change and develop and understand that we have so much technology and tools that actually this might actually be the future of work. I think it is the future of work, actually. I don't think that it really makes sense to have everyone going into an office because we don't have to do that, especially if we work in tech. Software engineers are location independent. So another impact, and one thing we're learning is the impact this is making for the benefit of the environment. When you have a huge office location, the amount of water, energy that you're pouring in to keep it going every single day, that's not really energy efficient, So perhaps that might be something that companies are considering, and that will also definitely affect their resources, their revenue, because they don't have to invest in that physical location. So I think that, we have the benefits for the employee is you're comfortable at home, you're safe, you have all this technology that you can do your job efficiently and maybe be more productive. You don't have to have the commute. You don't have to deal with the stress of driving. Then second, for the whole industry, the technology industry, is innovation. How can we innovate the current tools that we have to make this global remote workforce more efficient? And then again, the impact for the environment, because we are traveling less, we are using less resources. I think that if this is actually one good thing that's come out of this coronavirus, is the fact that we are adapting to be better and to make better use of the resources that we have, the technology that we have, and we are respecting our, fellow citizens by, okay, I'm going to stay home, be part of the stay home club. And then, I'm more productive. Maybe I have some ideas of how my company can innovate to make the workforce more efficient remotely. And then, fundamentally, we cannot be so short-sighted that we don't understand that perhaps this is going to make enough of an impact on us as humans to understand that we need to change how we function in the world with one another and the impact that we have had on nature.
Yes, it's a good aspect or a good situation or a possibility now during the coronavirus to think or to rethink all over this. Everybody personally and in this community, in this working place with all these components. But of course, one fact is the environmental thing. That all over the world, yes, the Earth has some breeze. We should say that everywhere we are looking from the satellites. And on the other hand, is of course it's a reinvention and who everybody is to look inside and to see what are the main needs I have in work and other on the social on the social level, because one thing of course is social distancing, but on the other hand we are humans, we are social beings. And that is one, and we are very different social beings when it comes to diversity, to inclusion questions. And what do you think for this what has to be developed or to change for the future to combine these very positive effects of home office and more technology to work, have more efficiency and everything, and on the other hand to fulfill the human needs of social, to be social with colleagues, with other people, to speak in person, of course, not only via a conference or whatever we have.
One thing that I've noticed just myself and my colleagues is that people that would normally never have any sort of contact or any sort of interaction, because obviously we're in different locations, there would never necessarily be any reason for us to, I would say, interact because we work in different areas. One thing that I've seen is that people are like, does anyone want to have a virtual coffee with me? Does anyone want to just have a chat via FaceTime or Skype chat? And I've seen a lot of people reaching out, and some people are isolated at home alone. Some people don't have a spouse or children, or they just live alone, and they have to go into isolation apart from their partner. Their partner and them, they live separately. So I've seen a lot of my colleagues just invite people that they would normally never see or talk to. Does anyone have time to have a virtual coffee with me today? And I think this is one great thing that, if we look at, again, one bright aspect of this pandemic is the fact that people are making, effort to reach out to people that they would normally never contact, making effort to look out for the well-being of others and making sure that we're all okay, because it is a difficult time. It is very, very difficult. And I think that what we are seeing is that, we are, as you said, social creatures, and nothing will stop us from being social. And the good thing about all of the technology, we're on Zoom, we have Skype, we have Teams, we have FaceTime, we have WhatsApp. We are as connected now as ever. And so really there's no reason for anyone to be alone. Even if you can't be physically in the room, we don't have to be alone. And I think that one great thing that, all this past 10, 15, 20 years of all this technological innovation and advances is really helping us now. And we see that, people are, some people have a very negative attitude towards social media or like WhatsApp and video conferencing. But in times of difficulty, in stress and strife, one thing that is important is the human connection. And if we can't physically be around one another, we still need to be able to have some sort of way to interact. And so, I think that in all of this, if nothing else, we will continue to innovate applications and software that will at least allow us to stay social and in contact. And I think that whatever else comes of this from the technological aspect, I would be happy to see some improvements, for the video conferencing applications and companies that are developing software that support these systems to definitely innovate and see that, because I do suspect that this is going to change, like I said, the global workforce. I think that there's going to be a lot more companies moving to a mostly remote workforce. And so the one concern that has been for these video conferencing applications is the fact that they have so much demand. And what is the actual capacity? So increasing the capacity, making sure the connectivity is good, things like this. So, yeah, bright side always.
Yeah.
Always try to be optimistic.
Yes, same to me. And I'm very grateful that all over the world it's possible to meet people for a virtual coffee. You can have an appointment with someone in Asia or in India or Russia or wherever you want. And that's, of course, new. And now we have all the time for that and the need because we are social distance and alone at home or perhaps with some people. But so it's for me also it's a great opportunity to do that, and I'm very thankful that the development is as high as it is. Although I'm working or giving lectures at the university now in the virtual classrooms, as you said, in Adobe Connect or whatever. And of course, sometimes it's a little bit tricky with the technical background. No? That's the but that should be developed now, and there's a push for development. No? That is Okay. So, come back to, or to round it up with the Hawaiian scene, because of course I would like to see, have you any, perhaps recommendation for some music for hula or other things, how we can feel, because many people tell me that music, art, or everything of art is very helpful, although during this time, to remember, to watch videos. I've, for example, I'm working for a documentary series. It's called Geo Reportage at Arte, and we have, of course, wonderful pictures in this documentaries. And of course, now watching this to be outside in a different kind of way. Therefore, I want to ask you, do you have any recommendations for hula music or videos or something like that? Or as you said, lessons, can we train something like that? Have dancing classes at home?
Definitely. I think that one thing that if you are, for me, hula is been part of my life, my entire life. And I find it very therapeutic. I practice hula every day at home. And especially when I'm feeling stressed, it's something that helps me, because I'm very, very far from home, far from my own culture. It helps me connect with my family. It helps me feel that my family is actually here with me. And it's actually very therapeutic. And if you are interested in learning more about hula, whether it's Hawaiian hula or Tahitian hula, there are resources. There's classes on YouTube that you can learn steps for completely free. My cousin actually teaches a hula class. The classes that I would normally be taking, or I would normally be helping her teach, are also available on YouTube. I can actually send you the link, and if people are interested in learning about hula and learning the steps and just learning the cultural background behind and the cultural significance behind hula, that's also something that I'm happy to share with people. I can send you the link and you can post it perhaps on your website, and people can, also, if you go to YouTube, there's so many hula videos, and there's so many different videos about Tahitian hula, about Hawaiian hula. My grandmother's actually from Tahiti, and hula is the reason why I'm here, because my grandparents met at a hula school. So my grandfather and grandmother fell in love because of hula, and I exist because of hula. So definitely it's something that I encourage people to look into. Yeah. And this is another good thing about this making use of the time. This is a really great time to learn about different cultures, and you may not be able to travel to Hawaii anytime soon, but there's a lot of resources about Hawaii about their nature, about the cultural significance around certain sites, and then also the cultural significance around hula. So I definitely encourage people to visit the state website, hawaii.gov, to learn some interesting things about the state. There's a lot of also very, very soothing scenes, beach scenes on YouTube. When we're thinking about mental health right now, soothing scenes of the beach of ocean waves, of actual scenes of beaches in Hawaii, like Maui, also Oahu, famous sites that you can actually see. So you can visit Hawaii without leaving home. You still respect the social distancing, but you get a taste of Hawaii and some aloha spirit.
Wow, that sounds so good. I feel different right now. Wow, cool, really cool. Yes, I will put it in the show notes. All the links you of course, yes. And my last question: what would you predict for the future? What are your goals for the next 10 years? Of course, it's after Corona season, I would say.
One goal I have for myself is to show more appreciation for smaller things I took for granted. Being able to go out and, one thing about living in a city, I spend a lot of time between London and Berlin. Being able to go in a city and no matter what time it is, you can find something open, and having that luxury of access to everything. Yeah. Taking more, appreciating that more, because now we're in a situation where you're confined to your home. And taking more appreciation for my friends and my family, just more appreciation for my loved ones. One thing I hope for myself personally in the next 10 years, I definitely want to travel more sustainably. So I'm saying not only travel more, but I'm seeing the impact that less travel is making on the earth. And I'm thinking, how can I fulfill my desire for travel in a more sustainable way? I want to be a little bit more conscious of the impact that I myself am making on the earth, and reduce my own carbon footprint first and foremost. One thing for my career is, I manage a team. I'm a manager at SAP. And one thing that I am really realizing is this pandemic is causing a huge global shift culturally in the workplace. And so I like to consider myself a leader in service of the people, and understanding that you have your management style, you have your coaching style, and that has to be dynamic, and understanding that now's the time for us to put more trust in our employees, more trust in your teams, and more trust in yourself. I always consider micromanagement as a sign of a leader not trusting him or herself. And I think that now everyone's at home. You have to trust people that they're doing their job and they're doing it well with the constraints that they have. And I think for me, I want to develop my leadership stance more so to give people complete free range. And if they see something in their day-to-day task that they can change and improve on, even if there is a set defined process, if they have an idea of how to improve it, give them the green light, because right now is a time to innovate. And we see that we need to have way more innovation, not less, and encourage that. So those are the two main things for myself. And also what I'm hoping, for myself in the next 10 years is to have a more, the whole home work-life balance thing, little bit more, appreciation for the fact that living abroad has allowed me to have a really, really good home work-life balance. I have definitely some areas that I'm still struggling with, but I'm hoping in the next 10 years to refine what it means to be a career woman and what it means to have a happy, healthy home as well. I don't have children yet, but, definitely by the time I do have children, I'm hoping that I have this down, what it means to be a working mother, because I'll be honest with you, Maria, if I were to have a child right now, I'm not sure I would be really, really great at mothering, because obviously if you're a new mother, you have a lot to work on, you need to learn. There's no manual, but trying to figure out this path of, being a good leader at work and then being a good mother. I'm still trying to figure out how that would work and what that would look like. I guess it's something that I would have to, learn by doing. So really being able to come into my own with my career and understanding, obviously I'm not confident that if I were to have a child right now, I will be able to juggle both. But 10 years time, I feel that I would be able to do both well. So these are the things that I'm hoping for myself. And I'm also hoping that society, in general, we will come out of this pandemic a little bit kinder to one another, an understanding that no man is an island and we're all in this together. I think that funny thing that happens with social media, it seemed that it was making us a little bit less social. People are not willing to talk on the phone, not willing to meet different people, not so open-minded. So I'm hoping that this is making us all realize that we're in this together and we are all interconnected. So next 10 years, I predict that the world will be a little bit kinder, gentler, and people have a little bit more concern for their neighbors. And we've seen some really, really, really heartwarming stories come out of Italy. People really, and, throughout the globe, people really taking a lot of care and concern for their neighbors and, the elderly, people that are alone. And so I think that in the next 10 years, we're going to see people come out of this and understand that, we need to look out for one another more. Wow.
Yes. It's touching my heart, and I agree totally. It's really good. Yes, it's all the way, because there are some really good recenter acts now. It's really interesting to see what human beings are possible to do, especially in connection and in caring, for be aware of your neighbors, as you said, and for elderly people, especially for the elderly people, because now I have a father I can't visit. No? He's 90 years old, and it's really touching, no? To have or to create. To come back to the essentials, I would say, and to develop and create from this point of view, from this fundament, a new, perhaps, new world, what's better for every human, and of course, globally. Huh? It's all the, we come closer together. It's life. Yes, thank you so much, Leilani.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it was really cool. And thank you so much. And I wish you all the luck, and that your wishes for the next 10 years come true, of course.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the invitation. I really appreciate you having me on your podcast. And I have to say, really that you're inspiring me, because, to see a woman who has so much initiative and so successful, this is really inspiring. And I think that we need to see more of this. So I want to tell you that I've enjoyed the podcast and the interview, and I really, really am grateful that you invited me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, have a great day, and I hope we meet soon in person, of course.
Yes, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you.
Yes, stay healthy. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to my podcast, Magic Brain Kicks. I would like to invite you to share this podcast, to give a comment and a like on iTunes. And if you want more information, please visit my website under drmariahovager.com. Hope I will hear you soon, and kick your brain, and goodbye.